Okay, I think we are live. Hi, it's Stephanie Evelo with the Evelo team at Keller Realty. And today we've got Bob Woerner, one of our senior realtor partners, who's going to share with us about what is happening in the marketplace and what has gone on in the market in June of 2024 here last month and year to date. So, Bob, take it away. What happened in the local housing market in June?
Yeah, so let's just hop right to it. We like to keep these as brief as we can, even though we cover a lot of information. So first up is that median sales price. So for the month ending June, we ended up at 315. That was up a little over 1% month over month and 6.8% year over year. So we've kind of fallen back down into, as we have for a while, kind of that average 4 to 6-ish percent increase each year that we see. So we're kind of right back in there. Next up is those cumulative days on market. So this looks at both the average and the median. This big number here is 10. That's the median. So still pretty low, but that is up 11% month over month and 42% over last year when we were at 7 days. And then the second darker blue number here is the average, and that's at 33. So still really low in comparison to, let's just look where we were in 2015. We were at about 110. So to go from 110 to 33 is pretty remarkable. And then right along with that is that month supply of inventory. So again, a balanced market being roughly a 4 or 5 month supply of inventory. We've been below 2% and in many cases below 1% going back to 2020. So we ended June at 1.6 months supply of inventory. Again, like the other two that we've kind of taken a look at, that was up 12.2% month over month and 39% year over year. And then kind of the last one we look at in this initial first batch of stats we track is that percent of list price received. So we're still pretty close to 100%. We ended the month at 98.7. That was up a little bit month over month, but down a little bit where we ended this time last year when we were at 99.5.
Yeah, a little different from the days where it was at 100 or plus, and I know even this week at team meeting we discussed, there was an offer that had written under asking, and it was just fully accepted, not even countered. So yeah, so the market is definitely shifting, changing, and we're seeing some of those differences. What additional items have you been following to track the shifting market conditions as we see those
Yes.
shifts?
So some of the things we started looking at first up is that active inventory. So we've seen that number actually increase in June. So we had 4,800 active listings at the end of June. That was up 6.2% month over month and up 23% year over year. So slowly, again, we're still under 2% inventory. So we're far away from a balanced market, but obviously that active inventory is increasing. As a result of that, obviously, then closed sales tend to go down a little bit when active inventory goes up. So we ended June at just under 3,000 units sold, which was 5.3% down month over month. And then that was down 11% year over year. And then we also like to look at that number of new listings. So again, those numbers were down both month over month and year over year. So we had about 3,600 new listings in June. That was down 8% month over month and down 9% year over year. And then that last one we started taking a look at is, we look at that average list to sales price ratio. Obviously, the average is a little bit under 100, but that means there's certainly a large number of listings that still sell above 100% and a number of listings that sell below. So we like to take a look at this one, which is the percent closed above list price. So we're still at about 1 out of every 4 are closing above list price. Obviously, this is very dependent on geographic location, price point. It's very hyper local, right? So if you picked, say, Hamilton County between 250 and 350, it's probably going to be 80+% that are selling, 100% or above. So this is all inclusive, but it still is a good look. And it is down a little bit from where we were last year, down about 0.5% month over month and down about 26% year over year.
Yeah, and I think that's it's always relative, right? It's all relative because somebody could list their home for $1 million, and if the neighborhood only dictates $100,000, it's all relative, and that's why I think it's so critical that that people are reaching out and not just assuming that whatever a seller is asking is the right price. You hope and pray it is if you're the buyer, right? But you definitely want to engage with an agent who can help you pull those comps and see if if the numbers are accurate. So yeah, fantastic. So how are interest rates currently? What's up there?
Yeah, so we've remained pretty steady over where we reported last month. So last month when we did this, the 30-year fixed had a 6.99 average. This one that I pulled, which is effective last Thursday's kind of survey close, it was at 6.89. So we just dropped zero point 0.1. If you'll see, really for all of 2024, this kind of line here is 7%. All with the exception of a couple months, we've been kind of flirting right around that 7% line. So that's pretty consistent with where we've been. We did obviously see a spike go quite a bit above that last fall. But once that dropped off there, we have been pretty consistently in that 6.75 to 7 range for almost this entire calendar year. So 6, 7 months in. And we certainly seem to be, right now at least, in a position that we should stay plus or minus about a half point in either direction from that for the rest of the year, unless there's some changes that we don't know about.
I always go back to my first house was at 7.5%, and that was on an adjustable rate. So yes, we're still at low interest rates, even if it's not perceived that way, right? It's all relative. So any final thoughts about the state of the market?
Yeah, we always try to find something to wrap up with. This time I just a little bit like a few home shoppers, maybe they've been who've been persistent, might see some better conditions in the second half of the year. Obviously, we see inventories going up a little bit. The average list to sales price ratio is going down a little bit. And we tend to see some seasonality where there's a little bit less competition once the school year gets started. So here locally, for most of our schools, we're probably 3 to 5 weeks at most away from the start of the school year, which seems kind of crazy. But that's when we do tend to see the market still stays strong. But in terms of, hey, maybe instead of having 10 offers on this home, maybe there's 2 offers, or maybe there's only 1 offer. We've definitely seen that the last few Q3 and Q4s of the last few years. So looks like that might continue. So if you've been putting off your home search, maybe because the market was maybe a little too intense, this might be the time to hop back in. And then if you've been tracking the news at all, at least in the state of Indiana, we are required now to have buyer agency agreements in place before we ever show a home to a consumer. So now more than ever before, probably choosing your agent and having a good ally on your side up front is going to be super important, because the person you sign that buyer agency agreement with is going to be the person you're working with for whatever the term of that agency agreement is you sign with them.
Yeah, thank you so much for noting that. Yes, all that changed as of July 1st. So if people are not aware of that, we do also have some posts and social media reels and information on our Facebook page if people are looking for additional questions or information. And obviously, we're always available for calls. So yeah, so we wanted to just say thank you so much for joining us today. And if you have a real estate need that we can assist with, let's connect. Anyone on our team is available to assist, and there's always somebody available. That's the value of the team. You can contact us at info@eveloteam.com via email, or if you'd like to call or text 317-863-9011, and that'll all be here in the post. So reach out if you have any questions, and especially with all these new regulations and new terms and such as of July 1st. We're happy to answer any questions you might have. Thanks so much for joining us. And as always, make each moment count. Bye-bye.